Okay, episode 4 of chatting shit about the Marsh Cup. High expectations from the on the panel tonight. Joined by Aaron, Aerobubble, Leo, AzarayGeo, and Elliott, xPenchu, all currently in the top 10 of the UK. Leo sat nicely at number 1. How is everyone? Well, we'll see. Yeah. How is everyone?
Yeah, well, thank you.
Very good, thanks.
Lovely.
Go on.
I kind of feel like I'm on a Disney movie, and I'm like backstage, and they're like, "Oh, you're here. You've got to go on stage." I'm like, "No, you got the wrong guy. I'm not up here. I don't belong here. I've just had like a good couple of cups, but yeah, I appreciate it."
No, absolutely. Anyone who's there on merit. Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get started then straight away. I think we're going to start with Aaron tonight. What have you got for us?
Froslass. For this cup, it's like sort of really off meta for some reason, even though it's ranked so high. But just across the 1s and 2s, it picks up really good matchups. Like, its only solid counters are like Marowak and the Rock users, which straight away are both really weak to either the Mud Boys or like another water type. And bringing both of them, say like trying to cover it in the lead and then in the back, leaves you so open to like double water play or just a straight lead with like a Mud Boy cast form. I've even seen like 1 or 2 Poliwraths floating about. But it picks up some like really good matchups, beats Galvantula in, I think, definitely in the 1s, and I think then the 2s is like IVs. Picks up Swampert if you've got a good enough one, and then it like picks up almost all the grasses.
Yeah, you're right. It is off meta. It's definitely a good way of describing it, which is strange because whenever Froslass is eligible in a cup, it's always something I look at immediately and think, right, how can I use this thing? It's an absolute, Avalanche and Shadow Ball, absolute beast. I know I've just got to think Meta Sorceress, where I would suggest it was probably the top threat in Sorceress, maybe that or a Alolan Muck, I don't know. Just very few people seem to be running it in practice cups I've been involved in. Have you faced many of them, or have you just been running it? Or
I've not seen another one.
No, flipping it. Fair.
I remember, when was it? It was like last cup when they did all the move reworks and they buffed Powder Snow and Hex, and I was like, holy shit. If Froslass needed to be any better, just give it steroids.
Yeah, that buff has now allowed it to pick up Marowak in the 1s if you get the bait.
Wow.
With Powder Snow?
Yeah. So you bait Avalanche and they bait Bone Club, and then you win on CMP with Shadow Ball and KO 'em.
Bloody hell.
Jeez. Aaron and I were involved in a competition through the Yorkshire Belters group in the summer, not summer, off season, where we did a couple of sorceress games, not against each other, but against different people. And with the Powder Snow buff, I think Froslass actually beats Alolan Muck now. So you've got a nice type beating a dark type, a ghost type beating a dark type. Now I think it loses zeros because the first Avalanche doesn't KO the Muck, whereas the Dark Pulse does KO the Froslass. But if you put the shield in,
I think the Muck needs to be like insanely good. Like, it leaves it so low in the 1s if you don't have a bad one.
Yeah.
Which most people have a good one unless they did Go Fest.
Yeah.
How does Froslass do into Sableye?
Terrible.
Its only counter is Marowak and
Sableye. I forgot about Sableye, but obviously Sableye again isn't the best against the Mud Boys or like another water type. It's like one of its sort of softer counters.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought Sableye would want to switch in on Froslass, because I would have thought if you as the Froslass user want to play out the 2 shield scenario with a bit of energy advantage, I wouldn't have thought the Sableye Shadow Claw would close you down before you get 3 Avalanches.
I think it'd beat you to the 3rd move.
Right, okay.
So I think the best way to do would be to switch in to either take both shields or try and win the ones. I'm not sure how exactly much Powder Snow and Avalanche would do to it in the ones, but it would be close.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Shadow, like 2.5 charge attack moves worth of Shadow Claw damage would be enough to KO, but if a Froslass does get switched in, if you're using it as a safe switch, then you're definitely going to get a Sableye or a Marowak switching into that.
I think what's nice about it as well is that I mean, again, if you're using it as the safe switch, you're probably covering the shift tree there as well, or you're at least you're at least taking a shield.
With energy, it definitely takes it really close. I think you'd be able to take 2 shields.
Right.
So you'd be able to tank a Leaf Blade and then shield one, and then they'd come out with energy. But then you come in with something like a Muck.
Yeah.
You just farm down.
Yeah. So it seems, is that how you've been using it as a safe switch? I mean, I know you used it as a lead versus me, which caught me off guard a bit, but...
In the lead, I've seen a lot of teams that are like, the way I've set my team up is I've got like 3 Marowak counters at least, and then like 2 matchups that are really neutral. So they're already thinking they don't want to bring Marowak, and that opens up their entire team to Froslass. Like, I think of the 7 rounds I've done, I've faced maybe 2 Marowaks, and Froslass just runs through some teams. Like, I switched in on a Swampert, and they switched out to Whimsicott, and it took both shields and just missed out on getting to the last Avalanche, and they didn't even get a move off until afterwards.
And at that point, with something like Whimsicott, all that energy they built up, if you've got a Ferrothorn or a whack of your own to take that damage, that energy is meaningless anyway, isn't it? So, and then if that leaves you in a position where you're 2 shields up with something like Sableye or Amok, or even just like big neutral stuff like Lapras. I mean, I know that struggles against Ferrothorn, but there's plenty of Galvantula as well. But there's plenty of good stuff here that with 2 shields will run through stuff.
Yeah.
Kingdra jumps to mind as well. I absolutely adore Kingdra here. I think it's going to slip under the radar, but another one of those ones that I think is worth mentioning. Although interestingly, Ferrothorn seems to beat all those mons, which I think is perhaps worth bearing in mind if you're using them. But off top, we're sort of divulging a bit, I guess, Froslass. I wonder if, I guess the fact that there's so many ghosts available, that probably dissuades people using counter users. And I wonder, when we've seen Froslass be good in the past, certainly in Sorceress Cup, because Sorceress Cup it was allowed because of the ice typing, wasn't it, in Sorceress?
Yeah.
So it didn't have quite so many ghosts to compete with, if I remember rightly. But here, when there's such a wide variety of ghosts, because ghost is one of the allowed types, I wonder if the fact that counter users are put off so much reduces the play that Froslass has. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it being less useful. But I think we could see a rise in counter users towards the end of the month anyway, to be honest. But
Toxicroak, Scavalier.
Yeah, Heracross is the one I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in Megahorn.
I was asking, yeah.
Oh right, no, I think. Well, I'm not going to talk too much about Heracross because I think I might chat about it in episode 5. So
okay.
I'll hold that one back.
Earthquake.
Earthquake, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. Well, any other thoughts on Froslass?
Just check the sims, and it beat Fortress in the 2s, and I've not seen a lot of things that can consistently take on Fortress, obviously, other than Marowak. I came up against one last night, and I noticed that most of my team lost to it. Like, other than Swampert and Froslass, that's it from my team. Like, it beats
Sableye beats it too, no?
No, it beats Sableye. Straight mirror shot.
Flipping out.
Wow.
I really like the look of Shadow Fortress. I mean, I think that picks up extra wins that you wouldn't. I'm sure I read that it picks up Galvantula.
Yeah.
Just madness. Yeah. Not that I'd ever want. I didn't TM a Fortress when it lost event, and I don't think I'd want to spend 90,000 Stardust to run Mirror Shot and Frustration. But yeah, Fortress definitely has play.
Speediest Chief would be proud of you.
You would. That is true. If I had a shiny one, perhaps I'd be more tempted. But it's a lovely shot.
I have a rank 7 Shadow, so I might give it a shot.
Ooh.
With both charge moves available.
Yeah.
Tell
Nice.
you what, the real spice is Pineco. So, it's one of those. I looked into it because I was looking through Sims, and the name Pineco just kept popping up, and I was like, "There's no way," and there is no way. It's not going to be a thing. But there was a little part
Rank
of
258.
Oh.
Oof.
Well, so what moves?
One, it's ranked 250.
Oh, big gains. What moves does Pineco have that makes it so?
I think it's Bug Bite, but then Return probably. I think you'd probably want a purified one.
Return and Rock Tomb says here.
Rock Tomb. Oh, it also gets Sand Tomb. Bloody hell.
Sand Tomb and Rock Tomb if it's Shadow.
All the bloody tombs.
Yeah, so there we go. If you're worried about Pineco and you don't fancy AWAC, Froslass is the go-to.
I've probably run higher, worse ranked stuff than a Pineco at some point into. Oh no, that is really bad, isn't it? No, let's move on from Pineco.
Cool. Well, just so people I think I mentioned in episode 1 when I was talking about Bibarel being the only normal type that resists Ghost, and I said I met someone in London who ran Giraffaric in Sinister. Elliott is the guy.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but you throw some pretty hard shade my way. And it was funny. I had to check who I played against because one of your other guests, I forgot their name, said that, I ran up against a couple of draft rigs and I had like a real hard time. And I was thinking, oh my God, I wonder if that was me. Because the thing with draft rig was that there were just teams that people would make that would just be completely checked by it. And they obviously weren't planning for it. You, on the other hand, ran Bastiodon and Steelix, which I think is possibly the most disgusting thing a human being can ever do in that cup. And
Ran Slowbro as well. Come on, give me some credit.
And so, to be fair, that was really good. I think I remember our conversation actually. I sat down and I was like happy with my performance, and like we were having a bit of a laugh. I was like, nice to meet you. And then I think I said to you, I'm going to leave Giraffe Rig, by the way. I was like, I'm playing the mind game.
Yeah.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah, it was round 8 as well, wasn't it? So yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a long day in that crazy like venue.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Aaron and Leo were both there as well. So it's yeah.
Were you guys? Ha! No way. To be fair, like
I flew down.
You flew down.
Wow.
I flew down. It was cheaper than taking the train. So.
Wow.
Aaron and I had a very uncomfortable coach ride, me in particular, but that's for now.
Also for you.
Hate that.
It is, that tournament was a bit of like a who's who of just competitors.
Mhm.
There was a lot of big names there.
Yeah, a lot of big names were there.
Absolutely. Right, well, let's move on then, before we stray too far off topic.
Start talking shit about
Reminiscing
Sinister now.
about the past.
Yeah, the good old days when you could meet people face to face, yeah. Well, my pick is one of my favourites from the past, and I said in episode 3 that I wasn't going to talk about it more, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to talk about Golbat, which is rank 12, or the Shadow, which I prefer, is rank 14. First of all, the reason I prefer the Shadow is because obviously it deals more damage, but that's important because Poison Fang is so terrible. Even with Stab, Poison Fang, I think he's still only doing like 80% of the damage of a non-stab body slam. I think it's something like that. So, which is in the same energy, and everyone loves body slam. So that without that 20% damage, it's really poor. But the 20% damage also really helps the wing attack as well. To the point where, when I first looked at Golbat here, I was a bit turned off by the fact that it feels like it's completely walled by Alolan Muck with Poison Fang Shadow Ball. But actually, there's a very, very achievable wing attack breakpoint for Shadow Golbat versus Alolan Muck, and if you hit it, you win the ones straight Shadow Ball versus Alolan Muck, which is pretty mental.
Wow.
So Golbat's one of them ones where, a bit like Hypno, it's sort of bulky to begin with, so it doesn't really mind the defense drop. Not to the extent that the Hypno is, of course, but it's not like it's frail after the drop. So it's pretty handy to have that. And also, people don't shield Poison Fangs. Well, they don't shield Golbat anyway, because Poison Fang's Poison Fang, and you don't want to shield the Poison Fang ever if you can help it. And the Shadow Ball's non-stab. So it doesn't really have the shield pressure that the other things in this cup have. But that can be a good thing if you want to win Switch, because if I drop a Shadow Ball on anything and you don't shield it, I can probably shield what you're throwing, unless you've got something like Galvantula or Crustle and you're just fast moving me down, or Lapras, I guess, as well. I can shield whatever you throw out and probably just wing attack you down. And then at that point, I've got Switch and probably another Shadow Ball to throw where I'm possibly getting the shield anyway. So it can be a pretty fancy mon to win Switch advantage, in a sort of roundabout way that perhaps doesn't make much sense. You might feel like you're going to come out at a shield disadvantage, but you'd probably get it back if your opponent's learned the lesson from tanking the first Shadow Ball at least. I particularly like that it a bit like Sableye. It's sort of got that versatility of where it can take on this sort of common fire, water, grass cores of Alolan Marowak, Ferrothorn and Swampert. Ferrothorn's a bit sketchy if your opponent's running Thunder, but personally I feel like Flash Cannon's the way to go as the second move on Ferrothorn. Possibly even Mirror Shot. I think I'd rather run Mirror Shot than Thunder here because I don't see what Thunder's hitting. Well, I mean, Golbat's the answer, but
Marowak.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's a really, really polished turd. That's not. It's not going to help you out much at all. It's not like it. Even if it was something like Rock,
You're going to be losing anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like you're trying to use your influence to stop people from running the appropriate Golbat counter.
Mate, I have zero influence.
Galaxy brain.
Yeah.
Everyone in England suddenly
Thunder
TMs their
bad.
Ferrothorn, and Matthew Brewer gets a 7-0 for Shadow Golbat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Probably against terms of service somewhere.
somewhere probably. But I like that, and I think Shadow has an easier time versus Swampert as well because of the extra damage output. I think it loses one straight Shadow Ball to Swampert, but it's close. So if you do want to go straight Shadow Ball ones, you're leaving it farmable by something else. But even if it's even something like an Alolan Muck, it's really that close. And if Swampert shields the first Shadow Ball, at that point you can then just go Poison Fangs after the first one because the wing attack damage means you don't need the Shadow Ball again. So it's a pretty nice play versus those three. I think Shadow Bone on Marowak complicates things a little bit because that matchup's less baity. I know Leo was talking to us about that off stream a little bit beforehand, and sort of that being something that might cause people problems not knowing those matchups. So that's one to look out for. But Golbat's winning the zeros because he's landing the Shadow Ball that's killing, or it's not killing, but it's leaving it very close to killing. Whereas Golbat taking the Shadow Ball back is less close to dying. So yeah, it's got that sort of similar to Sableye rolling that it's a good generalist versus the Fire, Water, Grass core. However, if your team is looking weak to what's the fairy thing called? I always forget this.
Whimsicott.
That's the one. If your team's looking a bit weak to Whimsicott and you still want something to do with that sort of Sableye roll, Golbat could be your guy because it's, as I say, similar coverage, but you're absolutely decimating Whimsicott with super effective wing attacks, poison jabs, resisting anything that Whimsicott wants to throw at you rather than being weak to it. The trade-off on that is you're weak to Galvantula and Crustle, which is a bit of an issue. But I think Galvantula can't switch in on you and farm you down. I think you can go straight Poison Fangs and take a shield off it with like one wing attack advantage or something. Crustle's a bit different because it's not as frail, but basically, yeah, anything's got to watch out for its charge moves, and but people won't. People will let them through because the Poison Fang, and they'll not realise until it's too late how much they do with the shadow boost. So yeah, that's what I think to Golbat. I think it's just pretty good generalist. Not comparing it to, I am comparing it to Sableye. It's not as good as Sableye, but it's sort of
Yeah,
a side group.
I generally really don't like using Pokemon that rely so heavily on a really bad baity move, except for Marowak. Marowak is Bay, but like for Golbat, it's like if you land, if they shield a Shadow Ball, or if you try to bait and it just goes through, especially on like a Swampert or something that resists it, it's just like, okay, this game just got a lot harder now.
Yeah.
But I mean, generally, I just don't risk it. I just go for the big move, because at the very worst, you're taking a shield, and I'd rather get a shield than not get a shield. And yeah, it's better to at least take a shield not baiting than to bait and not get a shield, because it's way worse.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of most of Marowak's matchups. Golbat's matchups is that you can go straight Shadow Ball, or you can go Shadow Ball straight away, and if it does go shielded, Poison Fang's probably all you need from there. Anyway, like, I think Marowak's a bit different, but and again, people tend not to shield to Golbat. But yeah, I get what you mean completely. I think versus Swampert, if you decided you absolutely had to win switch versus Swampert, I believe with the Shadow, I believe you beat Swampert in the 2 straight Poison Fang, which is pretty incredible.
Pretty nutty.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think it's always good Golbat. Like whenever it's around, there's always play for it.
Fond memories of Golbat in is it Twilight, I think?
Yeah.
I think that was before the Ominous Wind nerf as well, and there were some great Golbat like just sweeping through everything because it got the double buff.
It was one of my MVPs in Rose Cup as well. Rose Cup was like one of the few times I actually beat Aaron last year, so like it'll always have a special place in my heart.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Golbat something that any of you guys have thought about, or no? Because it is very similar to Sableye. Like,
I haven't thought about it, but yeah, it's very similar to Sableye in the sense that, you know, you switch out 4 shields. Like you take the shield and then you lose switch, or you just go for switch and go use both your shields and just take it. So it's very similar, and I kind of like that. But I personally have a lot of experience with Sableye, so I'll probably just be using that over Golbat. Although I'm really disliking these Whimsicots in teams. So I'm like I was in my practice cup the other day, like 4 of my 4 Pokemon were like weak to Whimsicott. Like I had 2 water, I had Sableye and Marowak, and I had a Galv and Crustle. So it's just like all my waters and my Sableye, like half my team was weak to Whimsicott. So basically it just became like an RPS fest. So yeah.
Are you seeing many Whimsicott, like online?
Yeah.
In tournaments you're in.
I did it was the EPL practice cup. It was 5 rounds. It was like about 20-25 people there, and I think three of my rounds, 3 of my opponents had Whimsicott. I didn't look at the other like 20 teams. I was just barely remembering who my opponents were and what teams they had, but like 2 or 3 of them had Whimsicott. So give or take half of your teams are going to have Whimsicott in them. So
yeah, I've always wanted to run Sableye and Spiritomb, and I was going to talk about Spiritomb on this episode, but there's not much to talk about. I just love the idea of obviously, Sableye's only weak to charm or whatever, and I just thought, well, why not have 2 Sableyes? But it just doesn't work like that because Spiritomb just really doesn't perform. But
it's not as good as it was before the Ominous Wind debuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
maybe one day if does it get Astonish or something? I can't remember. Oh, no, it's Feint Attack and Sucker Punch, isn't it?
if it gets Shadow Claw, then maybe it'll be good.
Exactly. Yes, or if one of those moves gets a buff or something, that would be really cool. But then because my thought was, well, if they haven't got a Whimsicott, then they can't deal with 2 dark ghosts. It was more of just like a cheese. But then I don't think.
No, absolutely. I think having a team, if you're having a team, and one of the strategies is like only one of their Pokemon is weak to, only one of their Pokemon beats like you say one of your Pokemon, then just run 2 of that type because. Yeah. I mean, I'll get to this later. There's only been like 1 grass type in every team, so I think running double water is really solid, especially something like Swampert or Lapras or Azu.
Yeah. Well, I think Golbat probably is or Froslass actually. I guess I hadn't really thought about Froslass in this regard until Aaron was speaking about it earlier. But Froslass, I guess, has similar coverage in that it can take on Ferrothorn and Swampert pretty nicely, and then Marowak has to be careful versus it. Yeah, and then it sort of has that role of not being absolutely rinsed by Whimsicott. So yeah, I guess that works too. But I think probably Golbat and Froslass, I guess, are probably as close as you'll get to 2 things that sort of function like Sableye. Maybe things like Drifblim as well, I guess, perhaps. When I've used it with Sableye in a line a fair bit, and it's worked nicely. But then I don't know, winning with a line of Golbat, Sableye, and Golbat, Sableye, and one other thing doesn't necessarily mean the Golbat's doing well, because Sableye is just awesome. So I wouldn't know how much I'd read into that. But
Sableye is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Running together is really
Safest safe switch ever made.
Yeah.
What was that, Aaron?
Running them together is really interesting because it is basically just like a lesser Sableye. I think it's only really Galvantula and some of the ice types that really differ on like across like the main stuff that's been used, and being able to pick up Muck. Obviously, if you don't have a return Sableye, you're running like Power Gem, and then you run Golbat with it, and then you can pick up that Muck coverage and still keep some extra like coverage on your Sableye.
No.
I landed, who was it? I can't remember. I think it was Shabak I played last night, and he switched his Galvantula in to catch a move from my Sableye, and it was Power Gem. Just gone. Just
gotta check to see if there's that little white floaty stuff to see if it's purified or not.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think return is the play completely, and I mean,
except for in that game.
Yeah, except for in that game.
Except for in that case.
I mean, I would. The matchup with Muck with Golbat, I don't really want to line Golbat up with Muck, but if I lead it into Muck, I'm fine. I'll stay in, knowing that I've got that win con. A very achievable win con as well. Whereas Sableye doesn't have that, so it's not a matchup I aim to be in. But it's often a case of if Muck looks like my opponent's only switch into Sableye, which it often is, I can perhaps use Golbat to draw out the Muck, take a shield, and then go hand with Sableye later. And that works particularly well if the opponent's switching to Sableye is Shiftry. Because obviously you cannot switch a Shiftry into Golbat. So yeah, I think it's got play. It's one of my favourites, so sure, I think I'm going to run it. Okay, well let's move on to Leo then, and his pick, which is far lower down the rankings than I would have thought.
Yeah. So yeah, my Pokemon is Swampert, the beast that excels in every meta and in every league. Ultra, Premier, Master, great. I'm actually kind of surprised because I remember when Marsh Cup was like announced, and I think I remember Alfindial or something on Twitch. He had like a bunch of like, you know, some of the American top dogs like Valarash and Wild Susan Boyle, and they already had like teams set and they were like practicing with chat, and a lot of people had like Swampert. So that's kind of where I had my idea of as well initially. And I'm actually surprised how low ranked it is considering like, I mean, everyone has had dealings with Swampert in the past and everyone's, you know, used it, so they know exactly how powerful it is. I mean, for starters, it completely walls Galvantula. Marowak obviously completely destroys Marowak and Alola Muck as well. Its only issue is like things like Dugong, maybe Lapras, if he doesn't bait successfully, as well, depending on the moveset. And obviously the grass types, but like I mentioned before, no one's gonna have two grass types. No one's gonna have two grass types. You want to say something?
I think there's a lot of variety within the grass types.
I feel grass is really weak this meta because Alola Marowak is just so predominant, and there's Galvantula as well. Grass is just like looking kind of rough, you know. It's like it's like the I'd say of the 5 types, grass is the weakest of like.
Oh, agreed completely.
Yeah, between the other 4 types, which I won't name because there's so many dual typings that I don't know which one's which. Ghost, grass, water.
No, but there's stuff like Shiftry and Cradily which you could have as a second grass to fight back. But I think you'll see a couple of double grass. I don't necessarily think it's the way to go, but I think you'll see a couple.
I mean, okay, if I do see it, it won't be a lot. It's gonna be rare. Like okay. I did a practice cup on Monday, a 5-round practice cup, and the only grass types I saw were either Whimsicott or Ferrothorn, and never both, and never another grass. I think there was a Cradily as well that I had to deal with, but it was the only grass, like I said before. So I feel like if you like, I've been running double water, which is I think really solid considering, like I said, we're not going to see much grass. So if you can like bait out their only grass with like an Azu or a Dugong or Lapras, your Swampert is like really safe, because especially if it's a switch in like something that can draw out shields, like I was actually thinking during our call when I don't know who was speaking at the time, but I was like, why don't I just run double Mudboy? Because then like that'll just like wall so many Pokemon, you know, and it's like they only have the grass weakness. And if I can like switch to Wishcash or something like that and get to Blizzard before they get to their grass move, I could even like force a shield. Because I remember doing that a lot in Fusion Cup. I'd run Wishcash and Swamp in the back. I'd go into Wishcash and generally I'd bait out the Venusaur, and I could sometimes if they don't switch immediately, I can get to the Blizzard before they can get to Frenzy Plant and force a shield or even win switch, and then I'd farm it with Bronzong. But that's a different meta. But I feel you can kind of take advantage of the fact that grass isn't going to be very predominant, and grass is mainly Swampert's. Well, it's Swampert's only hard counters, but even things like Cradily, it can like fight back. Because I was playing against a Cradily, and I don't know what the matchups are, but those Hydro Cannons still hurt. It does like a good 40% of Cradily's health, and because it has Bullet Seed, it charges up very slowly, which is why Swampert's extremely dangerous, because it just charges up energy like mad. So if your hardest counter is gone and you can like get some energy on the Swampert, it can pretty much sweep anything, especially with Earthquake. But I feel Sludge Wave has a lot of potential as well, because like I did say, I really struggled against Whimsicott, especially using, because I really like using Sableye as my safe switch. But when I see the Whimsicott, it's like I can't use Sableye because they're just definitely going to bring that in. So I was thinking maybe running Sludge Wave on Swampert, because I don't think many Whimsicott will shield a Swampert. So I think Swampert's very, very strong, and I'm actually surprised why it's so low ranked. Because when I look at like, okay, let's look at Galvantula ranked 1 and look at its key losses, and I'm like, why is Swampert not there? And then I go into Marowak, and it's like, oh, key losses, Gengar, Crustle, Golbat. It's like, why is Swampert not there? Swampert beats these things as well. So I'm just kind of like you said, really surprised why it's so low ranked.
With Mud Boys and stuff like that, I've noticed in other tournaments in the past, like I know that PvPoke's rankings are a little more complex and there's a little more finesse than just Sims order number.
Yeah.
I know there is like a bit of human input into it. But, like I wonder if like Swampert losing to like Nuzleaf, Bayleaf, and I don't know, just random ass Razorleaf users that are so low ranked, if nobody's gonna be running a Weeping Bell or a Nuzleaf or something, but because those beat Swampert just because it's got Razorleaf, whether that pulls Swampert's rank down, so
it just loses to every grass type, so it's
exactly
becomes,
it's kind of similar to I was gonna say Jumpluff, is that Jumpluff is like quite high up, but it doesn't actually beat that much, but that's a tangent that we won't go down. But yeah, so I think you're right. I think that sounds sleeper OP, to be honest.
I mean, just looking at the key losses for Swampert here, it pretty much loses to a lot of water types in the one shields. Like it loses to Dugong, and without like an energy advantage or a shield advantage, it'll lose to Azza as well. Obviously, the mirror is just like a mirror, and Lapras kind of messes up Swampert as well if Swampert, like I said before, doesn't get an energy or a shield advantage or doesn't land the baits. But I feel that really isn't an issue, because I feel most of the time you're using Swampert as a closer and you're not going to really use it as a switch-in, so you're not like fighting for shields or baits or whatnot. You're kind of trying to draw out the biggest counter for Swampert and then try to sweep the rest after it's gone. But yeah, the reason why it's probably so low is because it loses to the water types and it loses to the grass types, which is half the meta, or maybe less than half, considering no one's going to be running double grass. No, it's not happening. No, not while I'm running my double water, at least.
But
yeah.
Has Shadow Swampert been something you've looked into at all, out of interest?
I haven't, because I'm not going to build one.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to see any. It's ranked five higher, but I feel Shadow Swampert feels like a bit of overkill, man. Like the Earthquake on Shadow Swampert is like the definition of overkill. In like any league, it just like kills like anything.
Like 75% to Ferrothorn.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I faced one last night in the practice tournament I did, and I had almost no answer for it because I wasn't running grass.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because I didn't have any grass either. Like I was running double bug, double water, and double ghost, and the only answer for Swampert I had was Azu, Swamp itself, and Sableye, and they're all kind of neutral matchups. There's like no hard matchup. So obviously the opponent brought in Swampert every time, and I had to basically win through switching and energy management. So I'm like, okay, I need an answer for Swampert, because I think people are sleeping on it.
Yeah, you were using cast form, Aaron, weren't you? As a well, that was your sort of Swampert answer, wasn't it?
Sableye's not too bad against it, but it's really iffy. And then Froslass obviously picks up the 2s and 1s, but loses the 0s. But I've looked at the actual Silph stats for like the most common species used. Marowak, Muck, and Galvantula are the top 3, and then Swampert. All of them above 22% used in each match. So like it takes care of all three of them, and then the mirror. And after that, it's Ferrothorn, Crustle, Shiftry. Obviously, 2 hard losses, and then Crustle, which is another one that you pick up.
Yeah.
So I think that it definitely has a lot of play, and obviously people aren't preparing for it as much as they should do.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about that is that it's a Galvantula counter that beats all the other Galvantula counters. I mean, it's with the exception of the real shield eating ones like Whimsicott and whether you want to class Kingdra as a Galvantula counter. When I've looked at Kingdra, I've sort of justified its inclusion as a Galvantula counter, I guess. So I guess I would. But other than Kingdra and Whimsicott, it beats all the other Galvantula counters, I guess, that I could think of. But that weakness to grass that weakness to grass and sort of grass being the only proper Swampert counter that you guys sort of that you guys said you struggled without. I think that's one of the reasons I again not want to go back and not wanting to go back to it too much, but that's one of the reasons I like the flyers here, because obviously no one's trying to farm anyone down with Mudshot anyway, but you've got to be careful, and particularly things like Pelipper I think would have a lot of play, but
yeah, I'm surprised I didn't see any Pelipper in my practice cup, considering it's ranked 8 and people are going to be like, oh, ranked 1 water Pokemon, I'll just run that. I didn't actually see that. Just a lot of Swampert and a bit of Lapras and a bit of Dugong. So
yeah, I know Elliott has some pretty strong feelings about Mantine in this cup.
Yeah. I'm of the opinion that after last cup we should, the whole Silph should just get together and just have a gentleman's agreement that Mantine can fuck off for a month. Because honestly, I'm seeing bubble baits in my sleep. I'm having hot flashes about that ice beam that I should have shielded, and it was just such the Mantine mirror was just so painful because it felt like you were just being choked out by an anaconda that was wrapping around you, and it was just getting you really slowly. It wasn't like oh damn, I didn't shield it and it one-shot me. It was like, oh damn, I didn't shield that and it didn't look like it did that much, but it's probably going to change the entire game.
Yeah.
But I think Pelipper looks really, really good. Again, I haven't seen too much of it either, and I haven't played any tournaments, but I've flicked through a couple of the rosters, so to speak. I think Pelipper looks really cool. Mantine, it looks good, but I just think people should bin it off for a month.
I think the reason why, I think Pelipper is really, really, really baits out the Galvantula because of that double weakness. It's just I'm really scared of Galvantula if I was using Pelipper.
Yeah.
That's why I like Swampert. Only one weakness.
Yeah, fair. I think
one weakness.
Pelipper's nice because I feel like flying damage is good here. I feel like water damage is good here, but both are terrified of Galvantula, as Leo says. But I mean, if you want both of those types of damage on your team, I think Pelipper's a good one to run because you get both damage. You get both sort of coverage there, but you don't take up 2 move slots. And it's a pretty valuable Swampert counter there that, as we say, other than grass types, there's not many of them about. Yeah. And any other sort of off the wall Swampert counters you've come across? I know Heracross tends to beat it, which is an odd one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna see any of those, and I'm not gonna see double grass, so it's fine. I did mention Sableye before. Obviously Swampert gets to his Hydro Cannons faster because it's 5 and 4, and foul play is always 6, apart from the third one, which is 5. Similar to Froslass's Avalanche, but because of those Shadow Claws, the longer you stay in, the harder you're gonna lose. So Swampert does actually pick up Sableye in the 0 and 1s, but it does lose to the 2s. By Sableye wins with 4 HP. So it kind of survives the Hydro Cannon, which only does about 52% of Sableye's health, and this is for a Hundo level 41. So if it's missing a couple of HP, if it's missing 1 or 2 HP, and if it's missing a defense, it might actually be enough to KO. So definitely need to check that out on PvP Poke, depending on yours, because not everyone's running Hundos. I know I'm not.
I'm definitely not. Sounds like you need the Shadow to take that extra damage in there.
I think if you're running the Shadow, you'd actually lose, because then you'd...
Shadow Force. Yeah.
because those hydro cannons are no. I think Sableye would lose the two. Fuck it. Let's just find out. I'm right here. Yeah, Hundo Shadow. Yeah, it loses the twos, like I thought, because it doesn't survive the unshielded hydro cannon, whereas the other one could, and it can't get that third foul play off, which it needs because it gets it to it slower. So definitely normal Sableye, I think, is the way to go in this cup. But I feel if you're switching in a Swampert, you wouldn't want to switch in. I think if you switch in a Swampert, you can still switch in a Sableye into it. But if you switch in a Sableye, you don't want to switch a Swampert into that, because Sableye already wins the 2 shields, but he's going to come out with more HP. So and like I said, it beats Galvantula in all scenarios, and I was just quickly checking.
The twos is really okay for Galvantula.
It loses to Froslass in the 1s and 2s, but it wins the 1s.
The Galvantula in the 2 shields, if you don't Earthquake at the end, you lose. So I've beaten quite a few Swamperts in the 2s with my Galvantula.
Going straight lunge?
They go, straight lunge, and they go straight Hydro Cannon, and you beat them if they don't have the IVs to get to a 4th Hydro Cannon.
And there's some madmen out there running Energy Ball as well, which I don't think he's too mad, but
I think Noz was running it when I faced him, but luckily I shielded it.
fair. I mean, I always assume the unexpected when I play Noz, so yeah.
Oh
Cool.
god, yeah.
Well, I think the Swampert loses the 1s to Sableye as well if it doesn't have, like, say, rank 50 IVs or below. So yeah, make sure to check that.
Cool. Any thoughts on Swampert? Any more thoughts? I feel like we've got it pretty well covered there. Cool. Well, let's move on to Elliott then and see what spice he's got in store for us.
Oh yeah, you're the spicy guy, right? You had like a Alolan, not Sandslash, but Sandshrew, like one cup.
Sandshrew, there he is. Yeah, thank you.
Same.
Shout out to my one and only successful YouTube video. I always like to try and run a little bit of spice. Like you said, I did a Alolan Sandshrew and Sorceress, and I've done an Omanyte a couple of times. Tortuga in Catacombs. Utterly useless Pokemon. utterly
I don't think that was too spicy. It was pretty high ranked.
No, you're thinking of Caracosta.
Oh, again, evolution.
I
keep baiting me, man.
I maxed out a Tortuga.
Oh man.
Water Gun, Body Slam, Surf. Just if it had Rock Throw, it probably would have been pretty good, but tragic. So anyway, what I like to do is I like to find one spice and then build the rest of the team around it. So I'm not going to just go like balls to the walls 6 spice, not every time anyway. And so my pick is Seaking.
Oh wow.
The Swiss Army Goldfish, as I like to call it. And the variant I'm going to be talking about is Triple Legacy. So Poison Jab, Icy Wind, Drill Run. And I was telling these guys earlier on, I got very excited when I saw the Poison Sting buffs. I was like, oh my god, this is going to be wild. Seaking's going to be up there. Double Water, that's where it is. I heard Leo say it. And, and no, unfortunately, it has Poison Jab. But nevertheless, I can talk about its wins and its losses. So I think Matt kind of nailed it when I told him about it, and he said that his understanding of it is that it does very well in the 1 shields and not really in anything else. And yeah, that's kind of it. But it does pick up some really interesting picks and a couple of like interesting scenarios. So it beats. Oh, does it? Oh, yes, it does. So it beats Shadow Golbat with 2 HP. So screw you, Matt.
I mean, we're talking about a Pokemon that's, you know, triple legacy, so you kind of have to trade for it. So the whole 2 HP is really dependent on the luck of the draw of the trade that you get.
No. Let's not talk about semantics. It's 2 HP. PV Poke said it.
Is this a rank 1 Seeking?
My rank 1 Legacy Seeking would like to. No, I don't think it's anywhere near rank 1. Oh Christ, it's lucky.
So, exactly.
That's tragic. Yeah. Okay. So,
but I'm sure you're checking the default IVs for.
I am. Yeah. You know,
so it's probably okay.
All of my hard work that I put into this Word document, I did it with the exact IVs for my Seeking.
Okay.
No. Okay. So in a perfect scenario,
Exposed.
It beats Shadow Golbat. It loses to normal Golbat. But in the Naught shields and the 2 shields, it beats Golbat. So that's kind of exciting. It beats Shiftry. It beats Azumarill in all shield scenarios, even with Play Rough. It beats Skuntank. It completely walls Drapion. I think the only situation it loses to Drapion is in the 0 shield if the Drapion has Bite. It beats Alola Marowak in all shield scenarios. It can comfortably take a Shadow Bone after an Icy Wind, but without an Icy Wind, it does about 50% of its health.
Hang on.
What about Shadow Ball?
You're Icy winning a Marowak here. What?
Well, you throw out the bait, don't you?
Right,
This is assuming the
Up to the drill
Marowak shields 2
Icy
Icy Winds.
Let's not. Like I said, let's not talk about semantics. Seeking is where it's at.
Alright, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, Drill Run does a bit. It beats Dugong in all shield scenarios. It beats
Stray Drill Run.
Let's not talk about semantics.
Continue.
I think all of these sims are like, oh, they've shielded 2 Icy Winds.
Yeah.
It beats Alola Muck, and it beats Mantine, but Mantine can fuck off. So really interestingly is all of what it loses to, which from the sounds of your responses, it sounds like a lot of what I've told you it wins to, it might actually lose to. But no, it beats. No, it loses to Swampert. It loses even harder to Shadow Swampert. Awful. Do you know the little rating? What was it called? The battle score or something?
Yeah.
So it's 415 to normal Swampert, and it's 180 to Shadow Swampert. So it
Is that
really
zeros or
really doesn't have a thing. No, that's in the 1 shield.
okay?
I believe. Loses to Pelipper. Loses to Muck. Loses to Shadow Muck even harder just because Thunder Punch. But yeah, I've got some notes about Sableye. I can't actually remember what it was though. So Sableye beats it to the Icy Wind by 2 poison jabs. Matchup is closer if Sableye isn't running Return. as it survives the second foul play. Can you see the hoops that I'm setting up for myself?
Yeah.
No. It's good.
With a 2 poison jab lead, and if they've been Icy Wind debuffed, it just about gets a little bit closer.
So if you switch your Seeking in and they switch Sableye in, then you're good, basically.
Yes. Yeah, as long as they don't do it too quickly.
Or not the other way around.
Yeah. But from a and obviously Galvantula, obviously not very good. Ferrothorn, not very good. Cridily, not very good. Gengar and Haunter, not very good. But you'll be pleased to know that Drill Run one-shots both. And I know.
Yeah.
Anything one-shots a Haunter or a Gengar. But Drill Run will do it. When they come in with a Haunter or a Gengar and no shields, like all good players do, you'll be ready with your Seeking.
Yes.
It loses to Wormadam Trash. It's not very good, but I guess I can talk about kind of what I like about Icy Wind, because obviously Icy Wind's a very strong move, and I feel that because all sims are kind of done in the vacuum of the 1v1, it's impossible for sims to kind of work out the effect that an Icy Wind has on the Pokemon that comes in, and that's kind of something that Seeking's got going for it, very loosely, is that if you lead it and you win the lead and they come in with something, you can just throw the Icy Wind at it. If they're coming in with the non-existent grass that are apparently going to be in this cup, then you can throw the Icy Wind at it. They feel like they kind of have to shield it because they know it's going to be an Icy Wind, and then you can come in with something else. And you know, I don't know the situations that all Icy Winds will have on, you know, every matchup, but I think that's where Dugong excels as well. Obviously, Dugong a much better Pokemon, but Dugong does a similar thing, doesn't it? Where, like, yeah, it gets that debuff on that next Pokemon that comes in before it dies, or you've got your switch advantage and you can swip off onto something else. I ran a Seaking in my regionals, my regional qualifiers or whatever it was when we hosted it in Brighton, and that was before Drill Run buff. Then I got into the playoffs, so
good effort.
there you go.
Different meta.
No.
Different meta.
Good effort. No, do you know what? I was wondering where you were going with that, but yeah,
I'll run it. I'll 100% run it, and then we'll never talk about it again because I'll do terribly.
But only if you do well, then
Yeah,
you won't
exactly.
shut up about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll make a YouTube video, the sequel to the Alolan Sandshrew. But yeah, like you were saying about double water, and I feel like it could fit that role paired with an even better water Pokemon.
Yeah, it might do well as a switch in, and then you can like debuff it, or you know, force shields with Drill Run, and then you can safely farm it down with your lead Pokemon. For example, if you bait out a Ferrothorn and then farm it down with Marowak, and then your Swampert or your closer water Pokemon could sweep after that's gone. So yeah, 3.
And I think for teams who have a grass type that isn't Ferrothorn, it's particularly dangerous as well because it's not got the steel type resistant to poison jabs.
And Icy Wind. Yeah.
And Icy Wind, yeah.
I guess if there are many Whimsicots, it's 4 times effective with the poison jab. There you go.
Yeah.
Really
it's very
reaching
nice.
here, but we haven't even talked about the waterfall variant. Maybe we'll.
No.
You wanted a Marowak victory. Well, here you go.
Yeah. No, but I quite like that because, like I said before, no one's gonna be running double grass. So if there is a Whimsicott, then the Seaking's like really solid, and you could probably like don't worry about not running Sableye or something because, because that Seaking just like because they're bringing Whimsicott to tackle the water types and tackle Sableye, obviously, but then the water type you have completely wrecks it, so that like the role of the Whimsicott's like completely like messed up, and they can't bring it, or they risk a lot bringing it. So I quite like that.
I guess I just see how the state of the
inverted water sort of role.
I'll wait until I see how like the state of the meta is by the time I do my tournaments. See how many Whimsicots are around. I'll do it anyway. Fuck it, why not?
I really want to run Sludge Wave on Swampert just because of Whimsicott. But
see, I don't know what you guys.
I feel I make all the other closing matchups without Earthquake a bit bad.
I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like if I was running Whimsicott and a Swampert had charged up to 65, 70 energy or whatever, I think I would shield anyway.
I did that on Monday and they didn't shield. I'm like, bait the Sludge Wave. Nope, they didn't shield. I mean, because that's what you do. You know, you bring in your Charmer to win switch. So even there's no point not risking a shield, even if it's a bait. I mean, some crazy people, but
we mentioned missing in-person tournaments earlier on, and I think that. Yeah, that's what I miss about Spice, actually, is that the look on somebody's face when they see your team and they're like, wait, what is that? What does it even get? And Seaking's got that. Yeah, those are the days.
I always remember Captain Charizard bringing Bibarel in Forest Cup. Not Forest Cup, the previous Forest Cup of Season 1, Jungle Cup, different forest. Yeah. And he went 5-1, and every time someone like looked at his big barrel, was like, what does that do? He's like, I can't tell you, mate. I can't. And it's just like, and then I remember after the tournament ended, he went up to the Nut. He's like, oh, do you want to battle? He's like, yeah, sure. And he beat him 2-0, just because, Well, he was using the Nemo Stormblood Vespi Queen strategy, which was OP at the time and no one knew about except for Greg. So
Greg prepared with his Bibarel.
the barrel was just mind game strats, but yeah, I you saying that kind of reminded me of that. It was kind of, it's always good to run some spice for sure.
Yeah.
I'll do it for the boys. There you go.
Do it for the content.
Do it for the content. Yeah. Do it for the thumbnail. I need a good artist that can like edit me a picture of Seaking with all these knives coming out of it, like a scissor and a flashlight, and
Do you know, it's a bit.
I can do that.
bit like Golduck in Timeless Cup.
Much like Golduck in Timeless Cup. Do enlighten us as to Golduck in Timeless Cup.
Golduck?
Yeah, because it was Timeless Cup was when Venus. I mean, we've only got 4 minutes before the call boots is off, so I'll be brief. But
sure.
Yeah, it was Confusion to beat Venusaur. It was Ice Beam to also beat Venusaur. It was
Cross Chop, doesn't it?
Cross Chop. Yeah, it was Cross Chop to beat things. Cross Chop was there to beat
Psychic.
other things. I mean, it was definitely Cross Chop and Ice Beam. Was I running Golduck when I played you, Aaron? I used it a lot. I don't know whether I was.
Might have been in practice. I'm guessing Cross Chop's there for the ice types.
That'll be it. That makes sense. Lapras and Celio. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a bit like a Scavalier as well, like just a plethora of non-stab moves and Drapion to a certain extent that just occasionally come together to be like a bit handy but not ever great. Which is the best thing we can say about mons like that.
I've just looked up Golduck's moves. He gets 7 moves.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have like 10 Golducks just waiting, all with different moves. So that is like, okay, this one has Ice Beam, so I'll give this one the second move because I really want Ice Beam, and then I'll roll at the others. And then that one has Cross Chop. So I have like 10, all like from 1 to 200 IVs, 1 to 200 rank. I haven't used any of them, but I'm like, I'm ready. They're gonna have their day one day.
Still got about Shadow Golduck, but now we'll save that one.
Yeah, Shadow Golduck. For sure.
What was that, Aaron?
I still don't have a good Golduck.
No, I don't think you're missing out too much, mate.
I haven't used any of them, so
It's going to be a Silph month this month where it's going to be like unreal.
It's one of them ones. It's got that potential hidden away somewhere in it.
Yeah, there'll be a Pokemon with beaks.
I mean,
Cup
we saw Sudowoodo, right? Sudowoodo had his month of fame. I mean, I think every Pokemon is gonna get something like that, like Golduck or Seaking.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's just nice that Seaking got his this month. As we have all agreed.
Yes.
As we have all agreed.
We won't talk about semantics, like you said.
Thank you.
Right, then let's leave it there then before it gets any further off topic. Lovely. Right, thank you all for joining. It's been good to get your thoughts. Hope you all found it as useful as I have. Double water, something to look out for. Nice one. Well, catch you all.
Copy me now. There goes my strats.
I'm running double grass, mate. That's
I'm not joining your tournaments. That's for sure.
3 grass types.
And thunder on my Ferrothorn. Because fuck Golbat.
Right, see you all later, guys. Cheers.
Right.
Nice one.